I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is pushing back on President Trump's claim that his crime crackdown is making the city safer.
This doesn't make sense. You know it doesn't make sense.
Trump dismissed D.C.'s crime stats as fake and credited federal agents and the National Guard, but Bowser questioned why the military is policing Americans in their own city. Singer Kehlani is calling out a scammer targeting her producer. In a video, she warned someone is using a fake iCloud to trick her team and even try to get her canceled. The singer made it clear that's not happening. And the new school year is underway for Chicago public school students. Black Mayor Brandon Johnson was out and about Monday as more than 300,000 students returned to the classroom. Classes began as district officials are trying to fill a $734 million budget deficit for this school year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Ignite your afternoons at Waba Grill's $5 happy hour with our 5-piece pork veggie dumplings and a value-sized premium beverage drink, like our tangy passion fruit lemonade. Enjoy $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. Only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tiger Woods has been named chairman of a 9-person committee given the task of making significant changes for the PGA Tour. The 15-time major champion will lead the Future Competition Committee to recommend improvements for fans, players, and sponsors. African-American tennis star Coco Gauff is looking for her third coach in 2 years. Gauff, ranked number 3 in the world, fired her coach Matthew Daley just 4 days before her first-round match Sunday in the U.S. Open in New York City. Daley confirmed Gauff's decision Wednesday morning to a tennis journalist. The 21-year-old Gauff has yet to comment on her preference for a new coach. Jackson State, the defending Black College Football National Champion, is favored to repeat as champions of the SWAC Conference. Jackson State was 12-2 overall last year and 8-0 in the SWAC. They kick off the 2025 season August 30th against Hampton. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Today is Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary, and our very special guest in the first hour is none other than Dr. James Zogby. A lot of amazing breaking news in the Middle East today, and I'm so grateful that Dr. Zogby is giving us his time. Dr. Zogby co-founded the Arab American Institute in Washington, D.C., an organization which serves as the political and policy research arm of the Arab American community in 1985 and continues to serve as its president. He is director of Zogby Research Services, a firm that has conducted groundbreaking surveys across the Middle East. In September of 2010, President Obama appointed Dr. Zogby to the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. He reappointed him to a second term in 2015 and concluded his service in May of 2017. He was twice elected vice chair. Zogby is featured frequently on national and international media as an expert on Middle East affairs. Since 1992, he has written a weekly column that is published in 12 countries. In 2010, Dr. Zogby published the highly acclaimed book, Arab Voices. In 2013, ebooks looking at Iran, the rise and fall of the Iranian Republic opinion, and 20 years after Oslo are drawn from his extensive polling across the Middle East, with Zogby Research Services. Dr. Zogby was also the deputy campaign manager and senior advisor to Reverend Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign in 1984 and 1988, and led the first ever debate on Palestinian statehood at that year's Democratic Convention in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Zogby, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. But we need to add to that the first ever and last ever debate on Palestinian issues at the Democratic Convention. They never done it since.
That's that's amazing news in terms of educating the American people on what's taking place in that part of the world. Dr. Zogby, why don't we use this opening segment of our show to bring us up to date on the peace processes or the lack thereof that are taking place in the Gaza, in the Middle East, and the general climate that is obviously developing even as we speak in the Gaza at this hour. We have about 4 minutes before our break.
There's a full-on Israel offensive in Gaza City. They seem to want to reoccupy Gaza, having learned no lessons from the last 50 years. At the same time, there's an aggressive push in the West Bank, led by both settlers who are terrorizing Palestinians out of their homes and villages, sequestering them, denying them access to their lands, and building new settlements. The result is a desire on the part of the Netanyahu government to seize full control, not just nominal control, but full control of the West Bank and Gaza, to claim it as the land of Israel, as they say. It is a disaster, and there are no restraints because the restraints would have to come from the United States, and the U.S. is unwilling to do it. Not just Trump, but Biden was as well. And so we've created a kind of an impunity where the Israelis do what they want to do and know that no one's going to stop them. And so they just keep doing it. And it's a disaster, not just for Palestinians, but I would say people need to pay attention. Those who say they like Israel or care about Israel, another generation of young Israelis growing up with having served multiple tours of duty, committing atrocities, is going to take a toll on Israeli society in the future. We've seen it from Vietnam. We saw it with the Iraq and Afghan veterans, and Israel's about to experience it. They've never had a war that's lasted this long, and these kids are going to be maimed and do terrible things to themselves, to their families, and to their society in the years to come. It is a violent society that is getting more violent, and it is a disaster for everyone.
Jim, the consequences of a wider conflict as a result of the Israeli occupation in the Gaza and the expansion of settlements to the West Bank certainly have been something that you've given some thought to. And can you share with us what the consequences are?
I think the consequences are at home in Israel, and there are obviously consequences for Palestinians who feel no hope, who are getting more desperate, who are ultimately going to explode in the West Bank, as we've seen time and time again. There are also consequences to the Israeli society with an out-of-control group of youth who are committing daily acts of violence against people, and that violence ultimately gets internalized. And as I said, we've seen it in our own society with the way, police violence at home with their families, with Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans, 21, 22 suicides a day, homelessness, drug addiction. Those are the consequences. We used to talk about the broader region in danger of exploding. That doesn't happen. Everybody at this point has their own difficulties as a result of the way that the West has dealt with the Middle East. And so my biggest worry is an entire generation of Palestinians who have been maimed from the total devastation of youth in Gaza to what is happening to people in the West Bank. This is going to produce, this is going to have consequences a generation or more in terms of the way it has devastated lives. It's also transforming Israeli society. It is killing I think it's having consequences on Judaism as a religion.
Jim,
yeah.
let me. This is Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Dr. James Zogby.
Yeah.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius or two half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. For the past 3 decades, Dr. Zogby has served in leadership roles in the Democratic National Committee. He currently serves as chair of the DNC Ethnic Council, an umbrella organization of the Democratic Party leaders of European and Mediterranean descent. He served on the DNC's executive committee from 2000 to 2017, and for more than a decade, served as co-chair of the party's resolutions committee. Dr. Zogby, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Dr. Zogby, in the Middle East, increasingly, whichever side of the conflict one might find themselves on, people are growing impatient with Hamas. They are not the duly elected leadership of the people of the Gaza. The people themselves find themselves somewhat between a rock and a hard place. Obviously, the military machinery and the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu, and in their own midst, people who are largely responsible for what happened on October 7th are poor children, poor families, poor women, and even starvation in their midst. Today or yesterday, I believe it was reported that a number of Arab nations have expressed their great displeasure and impatience with Hamas. Dr. Zogby, your thoughts?
Look, I opposed Hamas in 1988 when it was first getting going. And during the 90s after Oslo, when they turned to terrorism, outright terrorism, and strapping bombs on teenagers and sending them into pizza parlors or places of that sort to sabotage the Oslo process. They were a problem, a real problem. The problem is that while they were being armed, the Palestinian Authority and PLO were being disarmed, and the U.S. was encouraging them to squash Hamas, but giving them no credibility in governance. I mean, Israel kept a tight rein on the Palestinian Authority, denying them the ability to import and export freely, denying them the ability to grow in terms of building new housing, taking more land, building more settlements, discrediting them every day of the week. Meanwhile, resentment among people turned toward Hamas, saying, you guys are in power but done nothing, but these guys are fighting every day. Many went with them. So when the election happened in 2005 and Hamas won, because number one, the Fatah, the opposition, the mainstream of the Palestinian Authority was divided, and two, they were discredited. So it was a classic throw the bums out election. We polled that election. And what people were saying was, you guys had 10 years to deliver and you did nothing. Let's give these guys a chance. Well, Hamas behaved badly once they took control. They thought that they'd both be governance and a revolutionary guerrilla movement. And it ended up backfiring on the Palestinian people. What Netanyahu did was saw an opportunity to play Hamas off against the Palestinian Authority. And so he would deny prisoner exchanges to the PA, the Palestinian Authority, meanwhile giving prisoner exchanges to Hamas. He almost built them up and then periodically would punish them. But the result was that they gained credibility and the PA lost credibility. In polling we do, the people in Gaza want nothing to do with Hamas at all right now. And have not for a long time. The devil they knew is the devil they didn't want. But in the West Bank, people are more favorable toward Hamas because the devil they know is this discredited Palestinian Authority that Israel has made look weak and given them no slack at all. So I am frustrated with Hamas. I'm furious with them, the decisions they've made. But if people wanted serious leadership, you have to support the people you want to be the leaders. And Israel has done everything it could to support Hamas in the early years and discredit the Palestinian Authority. And the U.S. has done nothing to change the dynamic. We did not help build up the PA. We went along with Israel when they were building settlements, seizing territory, and denying the PA the funds that they deserve. There was an agreement made in 94 that Israel would collect the taxes for the PA and then give it to them. Israel's been holding that money up monthly, making demands on the PA, how they want them to spend it or not spend it. That's not a way to earn credibility or help a group you want to be in power to be credible. Bottom line is, want Hamas to go, but we need an alternative. And the way we get an alternative is by building it up. Instead, what we've done is we've let it be ground into the ground, and it's not helpful at all.
That's the state of play on the ground. I don't see any winners on either side. The patience is obviously wearing thin. Let me shift our concerns to the domestic politics and to the consequences of what's taking place in that part of the world. Many Arab Americans in the last election opted not to support Biden and Harris because of their position over these issues. And now we find ourselves in a situation where their support of Donald Trump is literally undermining the very case that Kamala Harris was making in terms of trying to find a way to bring the parties together. At least that's my interpretation of it. And there must be, without a doubt, and your polling probably reflects the buyer's remorse associated with what they're seeing.
Well, let me make a point. We've done polling on this. We did polling during the election, right before it and right after it. The overwhelming majority didn't vote for Trump. It was a kind of split, with a lot of people staying home. That was the problem. People just staying home, because Harris didn't meet with anybody in the community. Didn't meet with them at all. Biden never met with Arab Americans in the 4 years he was in office. Never once.
Wow.
22 months of a god-awful war, no meetings at all, no discussions at all.
Wow.
And when we asked Harris for a meeting, I got a call one day, said, she'll meet with you in Flint, but you only got a minute with her. I said, I'm not flying to Flint for a minute, and you can't go more than a minute because we got to break away. I said, I'm not doing it. That's not, that's not a meeting with the community.
That's not serious.
And so, yeah, it was frustrating. I mean, bad advisors. She spent days with Liz Cheney, no votes there, but wouldn't meet with people who might have supported her and helped her. And I don't mean my community only. I mean a lot of different people. Why didn't she tour Pennsylvania with a union leader? Why didn't she tour Pennsylvania with black leadership? Why did she do it with Liz Cheney, moderate Republican women, the consultant class and their ideas? So let me say another thing. If every Arab American in Michigan voted for Kamala Harris, she still would have lost Michigan. That's how big the margin was. If every Arab American in the country had voted for Kamala Harris, she still would have lost the popular vote. That's how big the margin was. We didn't lose the campaign. They lost the campaign. They made bad decisions, and I refused to accept response. I endorsed her. I bit the bullet. I went to Pennsylvania, Michigan. I confronted my community and endorsed her. But they did not help us at all, and frankly, didn't help themselves at all. This is a badly run campaign.
But still prescient beyond the Arab American community and the Arab American vote.
Yeah.
The redistricting process in Texas, Newsom's response to the Texas redistricting in the state of California, the spiraling events that could undermine the Voting Rights Act of 1965, still in these races, in the midterm elections, are the issues in the Middle East that, while there may not be enough Arab Americans to determine the outcome of the Congress of the United States and the only levers that we have to control Donald Trump, the issues of Israel, Hamas, the self-determination of the Palestinian people is still a factor in domestic politics. Whether they're Arab Americans staying at home voting or not, there are many candidates around the country who are going to have to deal with this issue front and center.
Everybody's got to. And it's become a watershed issue in many ways, and a litmus test. And we're seeing it play out. I mean, and the problem is that the leadership in the pro-Israel Jewish community has got to wake up and smell the roses. I mean, they got to deal with the fact that there is change out there. When I read the diatribes against Jamie Raskin or against your Congresswoman Schakowsky there in Michigan, because in Illinois, because they dare to criticize Israel. There is a change afoot in the country. 8% of Democrats, 8% support what Israel's doing in Gaza right now. That's the latest Pew poll. And yet the party and the leadership will not change their position because they're nervous they say, we don't want to lose the election in 2026. Guess what? You lost the election in 2024 because you didn't change your position. With only 8% supporting what Israel's doing, what's the point? And by the way, 2-1 public opinion as a whole doesn't support what Israel's doing right now. So I don't get the hesitation to be tougher on this issue. I don't. And I think it's self-defeating. And don't blame us. They're saying you guys are dividing the party. I'm not dividing the party. You're dividing the party by refusing to to understand that there's a change taking place in the country. People want a different policy. They don't want to send weapons to a country committing genocide. And you can't deny the starvation. They're seeing it every single day. And so the problem right now is a refusal on the part of Democratic leadership to do the right thing. Why won't Hakeem Jeffries endorse Zohran Mamdani? Why won't Chuck Schumer endorse Mamdani? He won the Democratic primary rather handsomely, I might add. And they won't do it. Why? Because his position on Israel isn't one that they agree with. I'm sorry. At this point, that's just plain stupid. It's not just bad politics. It's stupid, and it's self-defeating.
Jim, let me ask this question. I can't separate
what I really think.
I can't separate the politics on the ground in the Gaza and in Israel from some of the policies that are coming from the White House that may not seem directly impacted by the politics of the Middle East, but in effect they are. When I hear the President of the United States decide that he's going to launch a campaign against mail-in ballots, I think about Democrats abroad, right? I think about Americans abroad who would be impacted by this. I think about soldiers all around the world at more than 200 military bases that are impacted by this. But I also think about college students who are not home in their districts or not home in the jurisdictions for which they are registered, being unable to vote. I think about college activity that's tied to this crisis.
And senior citizens and handicapped people who just don't want to wait in line for 3 hours, can't wait in line. I mean, it's silencing. It's also silencing the politics. It's silencing a majority of people who might find themselves in opposition to what's taking place in the Middle East on either side of the question. Yeah, there are things that this president is doing. Sometimes they're serious, and sometimes they are an effort to create a distraction from other stuff he's doing. And I don't know about this one, how this one's going to go. I mean, is he actually serious about doing this, or is this something he's doing to stir the pot while he's got his eyes are focused on something else? I mean, I'm not sure, for example, that he really wants to take over the District of Columbia, as much as there's other stuff going on that he wants to do.
I take him at his word. I take him at his word because I've had city council persons from the District of Columbia on the program in the last week or so who are sharing with us in real time what's actually taking place. I had a pollster, Ron Lester. Ron Lester came on the program, and Ron said, hey, I was coming from Maryland into the District of Columbia, and the Federal Protective Services had literally a blockade on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. Prove to me that you have business in Washington, D.C. Why are you going in this direction? So obviously the consequences are extraordinary, but I try to share with our listeners on the program that your enlightenment on everybody gets one vote in this system. And when I cast my vote, I don't just cast it for the Democrat, or someone might cast their vote for the Republican. But I bring all of this history. I bring the history of the peace movements. I bring the history of communication and talk policies. I bring the history of everything with me, and I only have one vote, and I try to cast it as consciously as possible. And when I see starvation in the Gaza, when I see kids who look emaciated and grown people who look emaciated, and I also see hostages who look emaciated, the frustration, Jim, is so deep and so heavy that it's very, very difficult for me to make a judgment about where the pro-peace community is in this current environment. So I am profoundly and deeply concerned about that. Jim, I think I only have just a couple of seconds, about 1 minute, Jim, for your response before we have to go.
Look, I share the concern. And I am one of those old-fashioned guys who at the end of the day, as much as I have to hold my nose and vote for a Democrat who I don't believe is on the right side, I'll vote for that Democrat because it does make a difference. If we had control of the Congress, there'd be things that would not be happening right now. And if Kamala had won, there'd be things that would not be happening right now. And so, I share the frustration. I share the anxiety. But at the same time, as bad as the choices might be, make it a little bit better or stop it from getting a little bit worse, that's what I got to do. I've never been that kind of, I've never been on a suicide mission to prove my purity.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. More with Jim Zogby when we come forward.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is pushing back on President Trump's claim that his crime crackdown is making the city safer.
This doesn't make sense. You know what doesn't make sense?
Trump dismissed D.C.'s crime stats as fake and credited federal agents and the National Guard, but Bowser questioned why the military is policing Americans in their own city. Singer Kehlani is calling out a scammer targeting her producer. In a video, she warned someone is using a fake iCloud to trick her team and even try to get her canceled. The singer made it clear that's not happening. And the new school year is underway for Chicago public school students. Black Mayor Brandon Johnson was out and about Monday as more than 300,000 students returned to the classroom. Classes began as district officials are trying to fill a $734 million budget deficit for this school year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Irwindale, it's
Ignite your afternoons at Waba Grill's $5 happy hour with our 5-piece pork veggie dumplings and a value-sized premium beverage drink, like our tangy passion fruit lemonade. Enjoy $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. Only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tiger Woods has been named chairman of a 9-person committee given the task of making significant changes for the PGA Tour. The 15-time major champion will lead the Future Competition Committee to recommend improvements for fans, players, and sponsors. African-American tennis star Coco Gauff is looking for her third coach in 2 years. Gauff, ranked number 3 in the world, fired her coach Matthew Daley just 4 days before her first-round match Sunday in the U.S. Open in New York City. Daley confirmed Gauff's decision Wednesday morning to a tennis journalist. The 21-year-old Gauff is yet to comment on her preference for a new coach. Jackson State, the defending Black college football national champion, is favored to repeat as champions of the SWAC conference. Jackson State was 12-2 overall last year and 8-0 in the SWAC. They kick off the 2025 season August 30th against Hampton. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait.
Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
You gotta dip your chicken strips. Hey, this is Kiani.
And this is Tabitha.
And a little thing we love about Chick-fil-A chicken strips
is all the different sauces we can dip them in. I like to line up all my favorite sauces so that in every bite, I have a different flavor. Then with the tenderness of the chicken, the juiciness of it, it's all there.
And for me, I like to mix my sauces so I get a little tang and I get a little sweetness all in one bite.
That's what makes it for me. Like, that's what does it for me.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the summer of Chick-fil-A chicken strips and sauces. Order now on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 in this hour. And for the final two segments of this hour is none other than Dr. James Zogby. Dr. James Zogby is one of the nation's leading authorities on all issues in the Middle East, more specifically, the Gaza, the West Bank. And we are so grateful that he is spending his time with us this afternoon. Dr. Zogby, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. I just wish that the Biden administration felt the same way.
We tried
to talk to them, and they just, unlike previous administrations that would call me in, call Arab Americans in, talk to us, nothing. Zero.
To what do we owe that, though? Why did the Biden administration turn their back on the conversation?
I had a conversation with Bill Clinton about it one time. He said, he called me and he said, Biden dealing with you people. And I said, we haven't had a meeting or a phone call, nothing. What? He said, I can't believe it. And I said, look, the Ukraine war has been going on for how many years now? He hasn't met with the Ukrainians either. And it was like, Clinton kind of spoiled us, because he actually would call people in and talk. He made bad decisions, but he talked to people. Obama didn't talk to people either, tell you the truth. But Biden was, I think, more insulated than any president in my lifetime that I've dealt with, and didn't meet with anybody. For input. And so partly I think it's because he thought he knew everything, and his people, like Jake Sullivan and stuff, thought they were the cat's pajamas. But I think it also might be due to the fact that he was maybe just not fully in control of his functioning. I remember one time we met with Reagan and we walked in the Oval Office. I was with Casey Kasem, myself, and a couple of other Arab American leaders. And we were shown X's on the rug, told you stand here. President's going to come over, shake your hand. Do not talk to him or ask him a question. This is a photo op. Well, Reagan looked at Casey and recognized him and said, Casey, how are you? What do you got today? And Casey asked him a question about Lebanon. You could have seen these staffers in the Oval Office. They just literally flew across the thing to separate because they didn't want Reagan off script, right? And they didn't know what he'd say. I think that's kind of where Biden was. They were afraid of him saying or thinking or doing something that was off script, because I just don't think he was in control.
You
I don't know.
One of the great challenges, Jim, let me be clear. I'm for peace. I'm just for peace. I mean, it's at the core of my religion. It's at the core of my thinking, right? So I believe in Israeli security, but I also believe in Palestinian security.
Yeah.
I believe both people should be secure. Now, in the middle are human beings, both Jewish and Arab and Muslim.
And
But
Christian.
the idea that we must treat each other based upon a human rights standard on both sides matters to my argument. I mean, I don't like what happened on October 7th. I do not like starvation in the Gaza. There is a dehumanization process that is taking place. And I think that the guilt of that, I think we probably all agree, is Hamas is at the center of it. And it certainly allows Netanyahu to use this moment when he should be focusing on his own domestic legal issues to distract, which is exactly what Donald Trump is doing, from the Voting Rights Act to the Smithsonian to the DEI. He's distracting us away from his involvement in, obviously, the Epstein files. So, I mean, at some point in time, if I were Martin Luther King Jr., peace has to be put back on the table. And what I know about Jesse Jackson is we have to risk for peace. Where are the peace riskers in this process? Who's risking for peace, Jim? I know you've gone to the Middle East with Dad.
Look,
in those meetings.
I think that there was the meeting in Colombia, Bogota, a couple of weeks ago. 18 nations call themselves the Hague Group. Very strong statement and policies calling for an end to the war, end to starvation, and saying that their countries will not be used to ship arms to Israel. And calling on nations to recognize Palestinian independence, but also to take concrete steps to dissociate from Israeli policy. They're going to the UN, this Hague Group, and they're trying to build broader support around it to get more nations on board. You will not get the United States on board, but my hope is, look, Germany suspended arms shipments. Britain is suspending arms shipments. Spain has suspended arms shipments. Ireland is boycotting products from the occupied territories. There is a movement afoot to, I think, change the dynamic, but it will ultimately require the United States. And I think in this mix, targeting Israel is one thing, but it's targeting the United States. The Arab nations and the European nations, if they want peace, have to be as decisive in dealing with the United States on Gaza and the West Bank as they are in pressing the United States on Ukraine. And that means saying to Trump, saying to Biden, saying to whoever, you cannot continue to allow this. You can't allow this to continue to be happening.
I don't know if the United States is seen, Jim, Dr. Zogby, any longer as a honest broker.
It's not.
It's just not an honest broker.
And
right.
It wasn't with Biden either. It just
Yeah.
wasn't. And so the question is, will nations take measures? I mean, Trump will he will put a tariff on Brazil because his favorite guy down there is being prosecuted for outright corruption and illegal acts, threatening the International Criminal Court because they're taking action against Netanyahu. Who will take action against Donald Trump? Who will take action against the United States? Who will say to the United States, we're going to sanction you. We're going to tariff you because you are funneling support to allow genocide to continue. And I would hope, I mean, look, there's a growing body of opinion in the Jewish community that feels the same way, that says we've got to stop what Israel is doing to Israel, to the Jewish faith, to the Jewish people. And that's going to require action. And the action's got to come here. It's got to be the U.S. that is made to pay a price for this. I'm sorry, but that's where we are.
I think the action's also on the ground in Israel. And I had a meeting with a prominent member of the Jewish community who talked about opposition on the ground in Israel. They don't make the news
from us here.
Yeah, they don't make the news, but they've been challenging the judiciary. They've been challenging Netanyahu's legitimacy. They've been challenging the non-pro-peace forces within Israel. They don't have the microphone, but they're arguing for coexistence. And I leave enough room in my thinking for an acknowledgement of the negative actors and the bad actors and the horrific actors, a criticism of them, and but I also leave enough room in my thinking for the possibility of coexistence.
Back when I was working on the project with Vice President Gore in the first 4 years of the peace process, I'd go there a lot, almost every month. And I met with very prominent leaders in the Labor Party and in the peace movement. And they would say to me, we keep telling the government, you cannot build a new settlement. You cannot do this, because if you do, the U.S. will take action against us. And that threat that the U.S. might take something against Israel if they did the wrong thing was a restraint that actually made a difference for years. There is no restraint. And when there's no restraint, the peace movement dies. I've argued that sanctions or punishment against the Israeli government will strengthen the peace movement in Israel. It will strengthen the Jewish peace movement here in America.
Doc,
because there will be consequences to bad behavior. Doc, but no consequences, bad behavior continues.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Dr. James Zogby on KBLA Talk 1580 on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Become a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Get free and confidential information on immigration and citizenship. Visit lapl.org/NAI to find your nearest library, or call us at 213-228-7390. That's lapl.org/NAI or 213-228-7390. And start your path to becoming a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Call 213-228-7390 or visit lapl.org/NAI.
Which varies by plan, view contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-290-6207. 800-290-6207. Again, that's 800-290-6207.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. My very special guest in this hour is the preeminent Middle Eastern scholar, thinker, pollster, and the person who's up on current events for the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show in the Middle East is Dr. James Zogby. Dr. James Zogby has been appointed by presidents to prominent positions in their administrations. He has been in the ear of a number of presidents on these critical issues confronting war and peace in the region, and we're grateful to have him on our show. Dr. Zogby, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Dr. Zogby, this is our final segment, and towards the end of this, these brief questions that I have for you, I always ask for a word of hope. And I want to give you a heads up that I am going to ask you for a word of hope, because I must be candid with you. In that part of the world, looking at the news today that a new Israeli offensive in the Gaza to take over Gaza City has commenced, I just don't see any hope. And so before we get to that word of hope that maybe you can help us find, let me ask this question. I once listened to a song by Sting, and I think the title of the song was called Russians. And there's this great line in it that I remember from high school where he said that the Russians love their children too. Mr. Khrushchev, we will bury you, but I hope that the Russians love their children too. I mean, I just have to believe that Israelis love their children too, and that Palestinians love their children too. And therefore, we really can't just go nuclear on each other. That if we push ourselves back from the brink of this abyss, that coexistence is somehow possible. But it's something, Dr. Zogby, that I think we're going to have to risk for. Now, I've talked about American players who might risk for peace. You didn't name any, which is pretty interesting because I know my dad would have. But I don't see many people willing to cross the border and have conversations between the Palestinians and the Israelis in their respective territories either, risking for peace. I mean, we can do that here. That's a luxury. But there, on the ground, Dr. Zogby?
Well, there are lots of efforts of that sort, both there and here, between Arabs and Jews, and there Israelis and Palestinians, no doubt. And a number of them make a difference with each other. Just a friend of mine, American Jewish woman, just came back from Israel, spent time in the West Bank, had been banned from Israel because of her support for Palestinian justice, but she felt that as a Jew, she owed it to her people to reach out and be a messenger of peace to Palestinians. And there are Palestinians who do the same with Israelis. Look, there are these efforts, but they would grow exponentially if they had support from external sources, from governments, from the United States. And they don't right now. That's the problem. And so they become isolated individuals reaching out and not movements that reach out. And look, I agree. I mean, I remember I spoke at an anti-war rally in Philadelphia when I was at Temple University in 1967. And it was something I said, and it didn't go over well with people. I said, Vietnamese have mothers too. My point was the point you're making, right? That we talk about the Americans who died, but the Vietnamese were a body count. They were an abstraction. They weren't real people who were losing their lives and who had parents who cried for them. People say, why are you talking about that? What's the point? What are you saying? I knew what I was saying, and I mean that now. The problem now is not that Palestinians don't love their kids or that Israelis don't love their kids, but that Israelis don't love Palestinian kids. And Palestinians are not in a position right now to love Israelis. Israelis are persecuting them, and Israelis see Palestinians as a threat. They've dehumanized each other. I mean, the Martin Buber "I, thou," where you look at the other and see them as someone like you. We need that. Hard to get that in the context of what's happening when they're starving you, bombing you, killing you, etc. But that's where we need to go. And it's to always, like you say, keep that in front and center in our minds. And we have the luxury of doing it here, but need to do more of it. And we do need to take action in the macro sphere of how our government deals with this so as to lift up those voices and give them strength so they can say to their respective societies, you got to do this because powers in the world aren't going to tolerate you doing the wrong thing. That's where we need to go.
You know, I believe, Jim, as we prepare for your word of hope, I believe in the God of the Exodus. I believe in the God of Abraham. I believe that the God who is largely responsible for, if not completely responsible, let me correct that, completely responsible for the freedom of the Jewish people in that story. And he was concerned about ending slavery for them to have that freedom in a promised land. I also believe that the same God helped my people out of our Exodus story. The first people in human history to come out of constitutional slavery, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. That process led to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It is on the chopping block by the court in our country. My Exodus story is being profoundly affected in this election. And there are going to be two stories, large stories, in the midterm elections. That Exodus story, Israel's right to exist, the Palestinians and their right to exist, and my right to exist in my own country. Two Exodus stories, one God. And I see both sides of it, and it's an intellectual, I don't want to call it an intellectual stretch for me, but it certainly is an intellectual quandary. Dr. Zogby, a word of hope for this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I get the Exodus story, but read the prophets. And Elijah, and read Isaiah, read Jeremiah. And what I loved, I did my doctoral dissertation on Palestinian poets in Israel, the citizens in Israel, who had merged together their faith with Judaism and with Christianity and used the symbols of all three. And there's the prophet, they have Isaiah speaking to Tel Aviv and saying, why are you doing this? The prophets in the Old Testament are constantly challenging the Israeli people to do better, to not covet other people's lands, to not covet. The story in Kings of Ahab being punished because he stole the land of the farmer in Hebron because he coveted it. And God said, when you die, your flesh is going to be eaten by dogs because you've stolen the land of another. The prophets in Israel did not accept whatever you want to do goes. They said, the will of the God who gave us freedom wants us to respect the stranger in our midst and not punish them. And so Israel's killing that tradition. They're killing that tradition. And sorry, I mean, I think
there is a case
in religion, and this hits home.
No, you actually helped me. You actually helped me
strongly here about this. And it's interesting to read the Palestinian poets in Israel because in my dissertation I made reference to W.E.B. Du Bois and the souls of Black folk because he asked the question. Du Bois asked the question: where do you find the soul, the heart of America? You find it in those most oppressed. And that's where you find the soul of Israel is in the Palestinians, citizens of Israel, the ones most oppressed in that society. They're the ones who reflect the tradition. Now, you want to, we're going to break. I'm going to tell you.
I don't think I think our word of hope was, I think that was it, Dr. Zogsby.
No, the hope is young people.
Yes.
I'm seeing young people in this country with a very different mindset, not just about the world and Gaza and Palestinians, but here at home. It's a very different outlook they have. And I do not think that when they get older, they get jaded. This is a global consciousness that will not evaporate. Young people are going to ultimately take us in the direction we need to go.
Dr. Zogsby, thank you for being a guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Dr. Zogsby, you're always welcome. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, more with Wealthy Wednesdays and Dr. S. Todd Urey.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Lead the Future Competition Committee to recommend improvements for fans, players, and sponsors. African-American tennis star Coco Gauff is looking for her third coach in 2 years. Gauff, ranked number 3 in the world, fired her coach Matthew Daley just 4 days before her first-round match Sunday in the U.S. Open in New York City. Daley confirmed Gauff's decision Wednesday morning to a tennis journalist. The 21-year-old Gauff is yet to comment on her preference for a new coach. Jackson State, the defending Black College Football National Champion, is favored to repeat as champions of the SWAC Conference. Jackson State was 12-2 overall last year and 8-0 in the SWAC. They kick off the 2025 season August 30th against Hampton. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays, where none other than Reverend Dr. S. Todd Urey, principal of the Urey Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm who also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Urey is one of our most thoughtful contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we got a whole bunch of them. Hey, Dr. Urey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm glad to be with you. I finally found a spot in the Atlanta airport, so you know how that can be.
I appreciate you, sir. Let me ask you this question here. I got a series of questions I want to go through with you. I remember about, I remember when Donald Trump asked for 11,700 votes out of Georgia 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now I see that he needs 5 congressional votes out of Texas. This is the same guy that said that the system is rigged against him, but he's constantly asking for governors to provide him with votes that he clearly has not earned. Dr. Uri, you know we have a break at the top of the 10. So give me your initial thoughts on where this is going with the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Well, you've got two fronts that we are actually defending at the same time. One is litigation. The other is actually participation. When we think about what this administration is trying to do with politically gerrymandering states, is really trying to change the legislative outcomes because he knows in his second term, if he doesn't maintain control of the House, he's going to have problems with his spending objectives, right? What does he do with public money? The issue with the Voting Rights Act is the accountability on racial gerrymandering, which has kind of taken on this nebulous sort of form as if we can't tell that the intentions and the objectives of the redrawing of maps has a racial effect, if not a racial intent attached to it. And so it is the combination of what happens when disaffected people find themselves frustrated and they don't participate. And then you give a president 3 appointments, 3 nominations to the high court, and then you give him a second term when the first term was a disaster, and then you hold on for the ride like it's a roller coaster at Six Flags and pray that you don't, lose your stuff, because that first drop when you get to the top is steep and it's serious.
Yeah, I'm convinced of that. I think that it's quite possible that before this term is over, or before December, Barbara Arnwine is profoundly concerned that the Voting Rights Act, as we know it, could be stricken down by the court, which means the idea of majority-minority districts, the idea of taking race into account as a factor in the construction of state legislative, state senatorial, congressional districts could be deemed unconstitutional, forcing not just a mid-decennial restructuring of congressional districts in the states that are willing to go toe-to-toe with Governor Abbott, but forcing states who have plans that have complied with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, whether they want to or not, to engage in a mid-decennial restructuring based upon lawsuits offered by the Department of Justice. Your thoughts on that, Dr. Uri?
Yeah, here's the challenge with the current attacks on VRA. Section 2, these arguments have been basically over who can actually bring suit. And so the fight has been over whether or not individuals have standing to bring challenges under the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, where in some instances you've had local branches of the NAACP, other civil rights organizations. That's the fight that's going through now. The only enforcement mechanism for the VRA is going to be by the federal government. Then you ought to be really concerned because the current structure of the Justice Department has zero interest in protecting anything called civil rights. And so if this fight before the courts does not protect the people's right to bring their grievances and have them heard before a tribunal, we will then be subject to the whims, as we see from your first question, of whatever the government decides is the way reality is going to be. And that is the beginning of the erosion of this republic, this democratic form of government, this democracy as we know it.
Barbara Arnwine said yesterday, and she was very clear, that nearly 85% of cases since the 1965 Voting Rights Act were brought by individual plaintiffs. The court has already ruled that these individual plaintiffs can no longer bring suit against the VRA, meaning the Department of Justice, as Dr. Yeary has just suggested, is the only entity that can bring them. And it is clear that the Trump Department of Justice has no interest in bringing these cases, and the profundity of what it could mean. The end of second Reconstruction could very well look like the end of first Reconstruction, when we had large numbers of African Americans and others elected to represent the interests of their constituents. Those numbers dwindled so quickly that I think it was Congressman White or Congressman DePriest of Illinois who gave a speech saying, one day, possibly Phoenix-like, we will return to the Congress of the United States. But for right now, we are leaving. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Dr. Todd Yeary, 1 foot in the courtroom and 1 foot in the pulpit. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius or two half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell, founder of Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is complicated, especially when your small business or professional practice is involved. At Cordell & Cordell, we understand that these assets raise unique valuation and allocation issues. For 35 years, we've helped doctors, lawyers, and small business owners navigate divorce with confidence. Call us at Cordell & Cordell. Let me tell you, I understand on a personal level, your business is much more than a job. It's your legacy.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed. From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Wealthy Wednesdays with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary is one of our nation's leading civil rights and human rights voices at this hour in our nation's history, and we are so grateful for his weekly participation in the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show. I think Dr. Yeary's microphone is still muted. Dr. Yeary will be joining us as soon as he unmutes his microphone. But while he's working on unmuting his microphone,
look, as soon as I figure out which one of these many windows that I'm looking at has what I'm looking for, this is you get it.
Dr. Yeary, let me ask you this question. I get it. Trump is deflecting from Epstein. But his most recent deflection is something that I heard Tavis Smiley talk about the other day on WGN television when he was in Chicago. You can't make a better plan that this man has something to attack about Black folks every single day. I mean, every single day. And within the last 21 hours, he escalated his attacks against the Smithsonian Museum, saying that there's too much focus on how bad slavery was. Now, how do you fight a civil war over slavery and then recognize that the two-party system itself, the Democratic Party of 1793, the Party of the Confederacy, the founding of the Republican Party in 1854 in Ripon, Wisconsin, to stop the expansion of slavery into the Western territories, a very narrow focus. Lincoln emerges as the head of that party, and the two-party system itself comes from this event. In addition to that, liberal economic philosophy and liberal cultural and social philosophy, conservative economic philosophy and conservative values also emerge from the conflict. So much of what it means to be an American is the byproduct of our very existence here by way of growing out of that slave system. Dr. Yeary, talk to me.
Listen, I'm sitting in this airport. I got a little while before I get on this flight.
But you got white folks to the left of you, white folks to the right of you, and now you got to talk about slavery.
Well, listen. And look, and I started with I'm at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport. So the revisionism strategy is a carryover from the first term. That the need to rewrite the narrative creates the curriculum of the future that is devoid of any moral awareness about the horrors of the trafficking of human bodies. So if we are to have this conversation, you dismantle cabinet offices, you get rid of the education department, you encroach on the right to access the franchise, to vote. That when you think about those two fundamental issues, political participation and the ending of human subjugation, when you begin to remove that from the historical conversation, it is a setup for a rerun. And let's be real clear that when we are opening up new places where you house and stockpile human bodies, right? Folks who may be here going through some immigration process, whatever the case may be. When you're trying to do that, the objective and the goal then becomes consistent with the way the 13th Amendment reads, is that slavery shall be outlawed except in instances of punishment for crime wherein someone has been duly convicted. Well, if we're creating these mechanisms, these frameworks, we're putting the National Guard on the streets, arrests in DC are up significantly over the last few months. When we are deploying the National Guard on the streets of LA, regardless of what the governor, as the commander in chief of that state militia, says. That there's more here than just trying to drive crime down. These are pilot projects, these are tests to see what kind of extreme behavior will be viable enough to withstand political and legal scrutiny and accountability. That's the whole hustle.
I get it. I get it. At the same time, when I step into a voting booth, I tell people all the time, I bring all of this history with me, just one vote, but I bring all of this stuff with me. And so for the president of the United States, I've just never seen anyone more petty. I mean, he's not so far attacking the Native American Museum. He's not attacking the Holocaust Museum. He is coming every single day after another aspect of African American history. And I might as well use this opportunity to pivot that is it coincidental that mayors of Democratic cities headed by African Americans are the ones that he keeps mentioning, from Karen Bass in Los Angeles to Brandon Johnson in Chicago, to Barbara Lee in the Bay Area, to Eric Adams, and to the mayor of Baltimore? Is that by accident? Or are there other cities in the United States headed by white mayors with higher crime rates for which he would never put the National Guard in their towns?
Well, let's also remember
we have a photo bomb behind you, by the way. Somebody's right behind you, looking over your shoulder.
Look, if you're gonna contribute to the conversation, get on in. Otherwise, get out. Here's the deal. It's not just the cities; it's where these cities are positioned. You've got cities in California. You've got the largest city in the state of New York, and you have the largest city, single locality in the state of Maryland. You've got Gavin Newsom as governor of California. You've got Kathy Hochul in New York, and you've got Westmore in Maryland. We don't know what Governor Hochul is planning to do, but we do know that when we are looking at, particularly in the instances of New York State and California, when we get to electoral college votes based on representation and apportionment by population, there's a reason why they are coming there. There's a reason why this president wants to redo the census now. Because as Homeland Security has been unleashed on communities, and raids in public and private spaces are going unchecked. They want to kind of reduce, not just redraw, but actually remove numbers of persons. That's what the census is. It counts persons. Remove the number of persons so that you might be able to pick up the loss of a seat here or there and maybe pick up a seat somewhere else. This is not some arbitrary issue. There's a whole blueprint of several hundred pages called the Project 2025. They've not been trying to hide this plan. We just keep pretending or trying to tell ourselves that this really doesn't apply to us. He didn't really think of it. It's too advanced for him. It's not too advanced for the folks around him to implement it. We got to get serious about it.
Dr. Year, we have about 7 minutes before the break. I was reading another article in today's paper where it says Oklahoma will require teachers from New York and California to prove they back America First. Oklahoma's new America First teacher certification test will require educators from California and New York to agree with the conservative curriculum. Isn't that unconstitutional?
Well, there's a lot going on these days that's unconstitutional. The short answer to that evaluation is we don't know yet, because until you get a challenge before this high court, to opine on the right question, then we may be wondering about that. But the notion that you have to endorse a doctrinal statement to
Yeah.
be an educator says that there's coming and they're designing. Just imagine if they get rid of the Department of Education, you will have a state by state kind of narrow curriculum that constrains the telling of the history of the nation and the teaching of critical thinking in such a way that it fits the political whims of that particular state in that particular moment. That's the danger of all of this. And what this administration has found a way to do is to basically build an executive committee of Republican administrations at the state level to basically give him whatever he wants. You know, on one hand, he's not the first one to come at the issue of human enslavement. Remember, Governor DeSantis said it was a job training program. And so, because they were recruiting workers to come get some skills that they didn't have, and therefore they could work, remotely, as in remotely here, that somehow or other that is kind of a mechanism that has benefited African descended persons because they saved us from the dark cotton. That's the tragedy of it. Because even if they pull everything out of the schools, remember when Brown versus Board of Education was passed, we weren't learning about our history because school systems had endorsed our curriculum. We learned about our history because we were teaching our history in our homes, in our churches, in our community centers. And we have now deferred on that obligation and that duty and left it to a system that never wanted us included in the story in the first place. We've got some correcting to do in our own house.
You know, and I think the other difference is that there was a history that was being taught in the South. And the new history that was being taught in the South has been that we actually stood up to it. And by standing up to it, we became the new history. I mean, it's replete with tragedy, from Emmett Till and then obviously Rosa Parks and then Jimmy Lee Jackson. Their stories, which we call the civil rights movement, I certainly hope everyone within the sound of my voice can hear this. They've never stopped teaching their view of history. Our story is a fundamentally different story that came from action that redefined American history. So when you look at the death of Emmett Till in 56, 57, when you look at Rosa Parks during that era, when you look at Brown versus the Board of Education, and when you look at all things King, all things Malcolm X, all things 50s and 60s and the role of our culture, we begin writing indeed a new history for America, a history now that they refuse to acknowledge. They want to continue to teach the history the way they've been teaching the history, as if we never had a movement in the first place, suggesting that the story was incomplete without our story. Does that make sense to you, Dr. Erie?
It makes sense in so many ways, especially when we think about this notion of the United States being an open space where people from all over the world can come and pursue their dream. Because as the model of resilience and resistance is the story of the resistance to the enslavement of human bodies and the resilience, albeit over a significant period of time, but by political participation and by court litigation, to be able to force the Constitution to be more expansive and more inclusive, so that from many one, e pluribus unum, might actually have some substantive meaning. This administration is certainly backing away from e pluribus unum, and they have a distorted version of In God We Trust. I'm not sure who they trusted, which God they're talking about. But when we look at that hostility that is actually being directed, this is nothing less than what I believe Dr. Frances Cress Welsing kept warning us about now that she sits with the Council of the Ancestors, that this is paranoia about racial extinction to the demise of white economic interests.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that one of the great tragedies of this hour is our silence. One of the great challenges of this hour is the lack of interpreters. Johnny Mack refers to it. Dr. Johnny Mack says that we are in the moment, but our being in time, which is right now, is part of a process that has occurred over time. And I can't think of a clearer voice in this era that helps keep us narrowly focused on what we are struggling with on a day-by-day basis other than yours. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Dr. S. Todd Yeary on Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Reverend Al Sharpton has filed a lawsuit against 2 construction firms and New York City over a deadly Legionnaires outbreak in Harlem.
Companies to not have assured and protected workers.
The suit accuses Rising Sun Construction and Skanska USA of negligence after cooling towers at Harlem Hospital tested positive for the bacteria. Court testimony reveals Anthony Big Juck Mills, Yo Gotti's brother, ordered the murder of Memphis rapper Young Dolph. Cornelius Smith confessed that Hernandez Govan hired him on Mim's behalf. Govan has pleaded not guilty. And former Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley is suing the city, claiming Black Mayor Karen Bass orchestrated a campaign of retaliation after the deadly Palisades fire. The suit accuses Bass of using Crowley as a scapegoat and concealing budget cuts that undermine public safety. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is this the Tiger? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tiger Woods has been named chairman of a 9-person committee given the task of making significant changes for the PGA Tour. The 15-time major champion will lead the future competition committee to recommend improvements for fans, players, and sponsors. African-American tennis star Coco Gauff is looking for her 3rd coach in 2 years. Gauff, ranked number 3 in the world, fired her coach Matthew Daly just 4 days before her first-round match Sunday in the U.S. Open in New York City. Daly confirmed Gauff's decision Wednesday morning to a tennis journalist. The 21-year-old Gauff has yet to comment on her preference for a new coach. Jackson State, the defending Black College football national champion, is favored to repeat as champions of the SWAC conference. Jackson State was 12-2 overall last year and 8-0 in the SWAC. They kick off the 2025 season August 30th against Hampton. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
You gotta dip your chicken strips. Hey, this is Kiani.
And this is Tabitha.
And a little thing we love about Chick-fil-A chicken strips
is all the different sauces we can dip them in. I like to line up all my favorite sauces so that in every bite, I have a different flavor. Then with the tenderness of the chicken, the juiciness of it, it's all there.
And for me, I like to mix my sauces so I get a little tang and I get a little sweetness all in one bite.
That's what makes it for me. Like, that's what does it for me.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the summer of Chick-fil-A chicken strips and sauces. Order now on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest in this hour on Wealthy Wednesdays is always Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Found the mute button this time, so I think we're good. You're not waiting on me.
You certainly did. Sir, I was reading this morning, Reverend, an article in the New York Times. The title of the article, "The Democratic Party Faces a Voter Registration Crisis." The party is bleeding support beyond the ballot box, a new analysis shows. Written by Shane Goldmacher and Jonah Smith. The Democratic Party is hemorrhaging voters long before they even go to the polls. Of the 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in every single one between 20 and 2024 elections, and often by a lot. That 4-year swing towards Republicans adds up to 4.5 million voters, a deep political hole that could take years for Democrats to climb out from. Now, this, I say, is fundamentally different than my experience, because obviously when Reverend Jackson ran in 84 and 88, he registered millions of new voters, and those voters showed up between those elections in 86 and actually took the Senate from Ronald Reagan in 1986 because of the new voters that Jesse Jackson brought onto the rolls. I just don't see amongst the Democratic candidates any efforts at all to put new Democrats on the rolls. Your thoughts, Dr. Yeary?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things that they are wrestling with. One is they're taking fire, many of them who are in elective office right now. They keep yelling incoming. And in many instances where we see the assault on federal employment and federal employees, when we see the shrinking of a base of civil service jobs that in many ways help to support the building of a Black middle class. I think there are those challenges. But the other thing is, when you mentioned 20 to 24, was one of the critiques that we had of the last administration, because the messaging was so horrible about the things that they were accomplishing. And so instead of talking about what they had done, there was always kind of this rebuttal posture when we talked about the infrastructure bill and translating that into answering the question, so what? How was that going to create pathways of opportunity to folks that would be looking to do business with the federal government? Now that's gone with this administration. The contract rule is gone. The expectation that there would be equal opportunity and equity in the process of being able to work on those jobs, that's gone. So when you don't give folks a sense of what you have done for them lately, it leaves an opening for somebody else to come up with some fiction. And when we look at how the Republican Party was able to close that gap, it wasn't on substance. It was actually on rhetoric. It was on this, I'm going to fix this problem in 24 hours if you elect me, even though I don't understand the problem. I don't believe it's a problem. I don't know how to fix the problem. That's kind of what folks wanted because somebody was speaking to what their concerns were. And you had an administration that was not messaging how what they were saying was important and successful was really going to change the trajectory of their lives. Now that we're in this fight, it's kind of we're learning about that impact after the fact because we're starting to see some of the challenges to educational opportunity, job training opportunity, jobs, all of those things. And now we've got work to do. What the party has to decide is what do they bring to the table? What your father was able to do in the lead up to the run in 1984. I met your dad in 1983 in Durham, North Carolina, at a joint assembly with an all-Black historical high school and a formerly all-white high school that is now almost all Black. We had a joint assembly. And what your dad was able to do was to engage the imagination of young voters. Many of my classmates, I was young as a senior in high school, but those who were about to be old enough to vote, we just had our 40th reunion a couple of years ago. Some of them still had the voter registration card they got from registering the vote the day that your dad came to speak to us in assembly. Somebody's got to speak, not just to the curiosity, but the imagination, the dreams of an emerging electorate, so that they then vote not just what they see, but what they imagine. And we've lost the power of imagination that to not only see things as they are, but to come up with a plan to build it as it can be and should be. That's what this party has lost. And that's where I think they're losing on the voter registration and the voter engagement side.
Dr. Erie, I think it was Ozzie Davis who said it's not the man, it's the plan. And then I think he continued his retort, it's not the rap, it's the map. The fact of the matter is it's both. You got to have somebody who's interested in registering people to vote. You have to have a candidate like Jesse Jackson, rap and plan, map and rap. All of it comes together when a person decides to focus on inspiring people to an action to do something to confront a national, a local, or any kind of challenge. Ain't no map that survives without somebody rapping about it to educate people. Ain't no plan that exists independent of an architect or a man who draws the plan that we can all agree to and follow. If there's no plan for the house, then it's going to be sideways, it's going to be twisted. It has to have an architect. It has to have somebody says, no, that board goes there. This piece goes here. The toilet shouldn't be upside down. We need it to be upside right. The plumbing has to be going downhill to the city main. I mean, it's map and rap. It's plan and man. And they all come together, not as a dichotomy, but as a focal point of interest. If Gavin Newsom were also announcing, his intention to register millions of new voters. And same for the other governors, other than just how can, as John Lesiotis said on one of our shows this week, we are now in a situation where voters used to pick the politicians, Dr. Erie. And now with the redrawing of these maps, politicians are going to get to select who their voters are.
Well, that's the original frame of the Constitution. Remember that?
That's right.
That the framers told us who could vote. We, the people, didn't mean we, all the people, or maybe there were just some people who could be people and the rest of us were something else. When you talk about the rap and the map, it's kind of mindful of how we think. First of all, the attention span of the average human being ain't that long. And so if you're going to give them a long, drawn out dissertation about what you're going to do, you're probably going to lose them a few minutes in. You got to be able to put it in a soundbite so that they can at least be engaged, inspired, and then empowered to act. And so that's what we have enjoyed in many ways from your dad as we are, drawing nigh to his 84th birthday and considering his words. But there are a couple of things that I recall from his speeches in 84 and 88. One of them, one of the speeches kind of summed it up this way. He said, I understand. When he talked about his own story and connected it with the conditions of the people and said, I understand, and was able to then give folks a sense that, yes, I am somebody's, that then said, all right, he gets me, even though he doesn't know me. And it's kind of what happens with the Black preacher on Sunday morning. When I stand in the back of my sanctuary and the members come through to shake my hand and, for my seniors to give me my shirt, that what they do is they say, Pastor, you sure did preach. When I ask them, what did I say? They can give me the hook. They probably can't tell me the text. We need somebody that can give us the rap and then show us the map.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest on Wealthy Wednesdays is Dr. S. Todd Yeary on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive.
where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Urey. Dr. S. Todd Urey is in Atlanta, Hartsfield Jackson Airport, about to jump on a flight, but he has been with us on Wealthy Wednesdays, the politics of our faith. No one does it better. Dr. Urey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
And you make a long layover pass real good, so I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Doc. Doc, I am in a spiritual space where I don't hear much good news. I try to end every show on a word of hope, but as Tavis was saying yesterday, there's just an attack on us in some way, shape, or form every day. And I do internalize attacks. I mean, I wish I could turn the news off, but I have a daily radio show, right? I mean, I've had a long battle with accepting the burdens, not only of myself, but the burdens of other people. And they literally affect me. I mean, they affect me. How can Dr. King ask the question, you look at a poor beggar and not be moved by humanity? How can you look at someone who has bad dental, or you can see the color of their eyes and the color of their decaying skin, or their emaciated bodies, and you not be moved by the human condition? Dr. Urey, I am moved by the human condition. Help our listeners and everyone who's following the processes of the dismantling of second Reconstruction and the order that we've come to know and understand. Help us understand our strength in the broken places that we must reach back and grab in order to make it through this era.
Well, since you've set it up, I guess I better take the baton and run with it. In the Christian scriptures, in the gospel, baptism is a significant ritual. It's significant because it is a ritual of initiation into a community where there are people who share in a common belief that God, this mysterious being that we can't fully know, really does want good things for us. And so we come together to negotiate life. We're not immune from it, not exempt from it, but to navigate it in a way where, with integrity, we handle the highs, we deal with the lows, but we don't do it alone because we're in community. But as a people with a unique history, baptism has to be put in its proper context. Otherwise, it's just getting wet. It's not just a ritual of initiation. It is a sign of a cleansing of the consciousness to be more aware that the universe of me, myself, and I is too narrow to really fully experience this tremendous gift called me. And so it takes me back to the years when I was on faculty at Northern Illinois University. Good friend and colleague of mine, Dr. Leon Caldwell, who at the time was at the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. We decided to follow in the tradition of our elders who took us to the continent. We went under their guidance and leadership. Baba Wade Nobles, Baba Naim Akbar, Mama Marimba Ani, and we learned about ourselves. Well, if you go to Ghana and you travel and navigate, you see the country, invariably, you are going to be taken to a place called Asan Manso. Asan Manso is a village and there's a river there. And the history is told that that was the site of the last bath that our ancestors would take before they would find themselves in the holds of ships being trafficked to some place that they had never been.
Mm.
But I believe in that last ritual of bathing, they were baptizing themselves in the consciousness and the courage of a history that in many instances may not have been written, but it was very real.
Mm.
And so I'm suggesting that we need to have a mass revival of baptism
Mm.
to go back and have our consciences cleansed so that we can expand the lens of our understanding of humanity. And here's the hook. This time we have to expand it so that we make room for ourselves. Somehow or other, we've allowed ourselves to be excluded from this arguably inclusive framework because we have come to tolerate the intolerant.
Mm.
We are like the frog. We're like the frog that started out in water. We worried that it's either too hot or too cold. It was room temperature. And as they moved the temperature ever so slightly higher and higher until it reached a boiling point, by the time it reaches a full boil, we're done.
Mm.
And so we've got to get back to cleansing. And I believe that river is really important because in the Old Testament, you remember before the children cross over into the promised land, their last night when they get ready to go over across the Jordan, they're told, find 12 men from each tribe. And when you get to the middle of the river, find a stone. Each man is to carry a stone over to the other side. For on your first night, when you've been delivered, you're going to sleep on those stones. Well, I don't know that we know where our stones are anymore because we're relying on folks to tell us our own story. And if we don't go back and ask the fundamental question, what do these stones mean? We will not have the connection we need to our ancestral history and legacy to rise to the occasion for the challenges that face us. But actually, if we stand and we stand properly, the outcome will benefit all people.
Mm. Mm. So, Pastor, the stones were to be an ever-present reminder of how we crossed over.
So that we could tell the story. The text goes this way, carry them over so that in the future, when future generations ask the question, what do these stones mean? Somebody can tell the story, not only about how they have come as far as they've come, but how they've come with God on their side. And so we've got to remember and make room, not only for our consciousness to be cleansed so that we can be more aware of our story, but in that awareness, in that appreciation for the story, it's not just a story of independence, it is a story of true reliance on the strength, power, grace, and mercy of an almighty God that kept our grandparents and our great grandparents so that we could be where we are today.
You know, in this moment, I'm struck by the idea that we have either moved the stones or the stones themselves have not been ascribed a meaning to which we find that strength necessary to show that we are part of something. We are not, as Kamala said, a coconut that dropped out of a tree. We're part of something. We're part of a meaningful history. We are part of the evolution of something great in human history. And while it may be changing right before us, and we may seemingly be weak without the capacity to do anything about it, in a sense, Doc, you told me what I kind of felt I already knew, but I understand it a little bit deeper today. And that is, in that community, we find each other. And in finding each other, there is a joy in what we find together that we must do. Dr. Todd Urey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You did a fantastic job today, sir. You really motivated us and inspired us.
I appreciate you, my brother. Now I'm going to catch a flight.
You're always welcome. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Urey. We are just richer on the hump day of the week as a result of Dr. Urey's leadership and his work. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, it will be tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.